So take me back to the beginning, when I was young, running through the fields with you. So take me back to the beginning, when I was young, running through the fields with you. So take me back to the beginning, when I was young, running through the fields with you. So take me back to the beginning, when I was young, running through the fields with you. So take me back to the beginning, when I was young, running through the fields with you. So take me back to the beginning, when I was young, running through the fields, full of life now, and full of passion. That's how He made you. Just let it happen. Full of life now, and full of passion. That's how He made you. Just let it happen. You're full of life now, and full of passion. That's how He made you. Just let it happen.
The other thing that many people would love to know is conflicts, right? Like every marriage, there is conflicts. I don't think mine has, but if you know mine has, please let me know. I do not know. I'm just kidding, but yeah. So every marriage has conflicts, right? So what is some of the guidelines that you had to get through these conflicts?
Yeah, conflict is a normal part of any relationship, right? Husband, wife, people in church, business partners, whatever. It's a normal part. Like we saw a list of questions asked, is conflict biblical? You know, and I said, yeah. I mean, look at how many times in the Bible it's talking about working through conflict, and so it is a normal part of any relationship, especially in marriage, because you're so close, you know, and you're just constantly with one another.
That's one thing we do talk a lot about it for premarital mentoring, is to expect it. It's you don't need to be surprised by it. It's going to happen. We get together as two people living together, and you think, you know, everything's wonderful, and then you start getting irritated by that person, and they start getting irritated by you, and you're just adjusting to being married. And that's something that's gonna happen. Like normally you wouldn't have, there's things in your life that maybe you always had. Your roommate knew you had it. Your parents may know you're that way, but no one ever tells you, you know, your little idiosyncrasies. But as soon as you get married, they come out. And you blame that person, like, oh, you're making me miserable because this is happening because I'm married to you. I was much happier before. Well, it's just you're working it out. That's what we do, and it's going to happen. So part of it is just being realistic that is going to occur. And
well, as far as handling it when it does occur, I think one of the things, and we had to learn this the hard way, actually. We both are from a Scandinavian background, and if you know anything about Scandinavian people, they don't express, right? If you have a feeling, you put that away, right? You just do the work, you work hard, and you don't complain, and that's sort of how you're raised. And, you know, we didn't think of ourselves as being raised anyway culturally, but we found when we got together, that was our norm. And the problem with that is, though, so she's feeling a certain way, I'm feeling a certain way, but we're not telling each other how we're feeling. And that's just as bad as having a big blow-up argument, right? There's other cultures where every feeling is expressed, right? And so both can be negative. And so nobody ever saw us fighting, but we would just be in silence and retreat. And that was just as devastating to our relationship as if we were arguing or yelling at each other. So you have to learn the art of being able to, it's called assertiveness in Prepare and Enrich vernacular, but you have to be able to share with one another how you're feeling about something, and voice how you're feeling, and voice what you want or what you need, or how that statement from that person made you feel. Being able to, and then the other person has to be able to not react emotionally, just to be able to listen. And that's the way that conflict is best resolved. You have to first understand how the person feels, try to get in their shoes a little bit, and then let them voice it. Don't be thinking in your mind why she's talking, but you know, because that's the worst thing. You just really hear her out. And it's really difficult for Karen to express how she's feeling with something. And so I have to be very patient to let her take her time, like 3 days sometimes, to let me know. And so, but that's, I think, the way. And then the other thing, the attitude has to be that we're trying to get to that place together. We're not enemies. We're trying to be together. We may not like the way she wants, I may not like the way she wants to go there, right? And she may not like the way I want to go there, but that's where we're trying to go. So we need to come to a place of understanding with that. You know, we're trying to do it together and trying to be one.
Yeah, very nice. So one point that reminds me is many times we have the situation where one person in the couple is the person who talks a lot, or like is the one who gets angry a lot, and the other person is the one who like just shuts down and walks out. But I was reading a book which said that both forms is actually sin. One is sin of commission and one is sin of omission. You know, you're committing a sin by being angry or like yelling and disrespecting your spouse. And the other part, you're omitting, the sin of omission, is you shutting down and not really responding to the person. And it can be shutting down in any way, like holding back physical intimacy. That can be another way of sin of omission. So that is something that we want to make sure that, you know, we encourage. So the talking part is very, very intentional.
Right. And by doing that, it's making the person that's more vocal and angry, more vocal and angry, because they pick up on what that means. If you're holding back, or if you leave, that's one of the rules we have too, is if anybody's upset, nobody leaves. If you need a timeout, that's different than leaving.
Yeah.
And
so it's a covenant like we started,
yes.
right?
And another thing is, another thing we've done just a couple of times, because we heard it from another couple, was if we've gotten in conflict and we're just not ready to handle it or talk about it, or we're going somewhere, we're at a point where we can totally let that go and say, okay, let's talk about it tomorrow at 3:00. When we both have time and we've thought about it. We're going to this party right now. We're not going to let it hinder it. You're not getting personal about it and getting your feelings so hurt that you can't be adult about it, I guess you could say.
That was really hard for me because I took things really personally in the beginning of our relationship, and she would shut down and I would take it personally when it was just her inability to discuss her feelings. And so we had to learn that. That was a